Hello, hello, everyone.
Good
Welcome.
morning, good afternoon.
Welcome, Stephanie. We have
Thank you.
a fabulous guest finally
Fabulous.
here. Can we have an emoji or something? A party, party flakes or whatever they're called. Thank you for coming on. I'm so glad we're finally able to bring you on.
Yeah.
The audio's working. You're healthy.
Yes.
Welcome to An Honest Look. So I'm going to introduce Stephanie before I just hold the mic over to her to do her magic with us. So Stephanie is a soul coach, a medium, and a mentor. Through her intuitive work and coaching, she's committed to help others connect with spirit, as well as offer guidance that can help heal inner child wounding, karmic patterns, and conditioned beliefs that keep people living living in alignment with the abundance they're truly worthy of. I did this really well before we came on, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yes.
Welcome to this show. We're really looking forward to talking to you about all of this. Tell us a little bit how you ended up doing this kind of work. Where did you start? What's been your journey?
So I find it, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and honored. So I find it kind of funny what we were talking about before we went live here. I had to go through a massive rebirth myself, girl. And I went through this, I'm an intuitive. I've always been intuitive, but like so many people on the planet, I suppressed my intuitive abilities until I went through a massive awakening. And as I went through this awakening and I experienced, ego death again and again, learning how to choose love over fear, spirit kind of just guided me towards what it is that I was here to do, which is to help people awaken and live in alignment with their heart and trust in their intuitive knowing and allow the rebirth and transformation to occur, despite the fear, right? Despite the fear. So I had to go through all of that myself first. And I kind of refer to it as like I went through like pre-med as a healer. I had to go through all of this stuff. And then as I went through that and really navigated my own consciousness shifts, I realized that I was here to help the collective do that as well. So, my mediumship abilities have always been there. But as I started to choose love over fear more in my life, spirit came through super, super clear and was like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I went ahead and I, did what so many people do. I got on social media. I started talking. I started presenting myself to the world. And before I knew it, I had a full clientele. And it was like, wow, okay, this is what I'm here to do. And then as that developed, I had lots of people coming to me asking me if I would be willing to do coaching and transformation and events. And it just kind of bubbled from there. And I got a book deal from it. And then I had another book deal kind of come through for it. So many incredible experiences over the last probably 6 years or so, just because I was brave enough to follow my heart, just because I was brave enough to just simply go, yeah, but what if that inner voice is actually correct? Versus allowing my head to talk me out of my power. So there's a massive reprogramming and consciousness shift that had to happen in me first before I got to this point. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love what you're sharing. And, as you know, before we came on, what I was sharing, is so relevant, this conversation, to what I'm going through, right? And also the understanding that in spite of the fact that I'm talking about myself personally, I've done a lot of work, I shed a lot of skins, and I have evolved from where I was at, and I have had ego death, that may never end, right? That may never end. It's a cycle that restarts at some point, right? If you're looking to evolve and keep growing.
Yeah, it's like Alice in Wonderland. It really is, and once you open up and you really expand and you go through the heart activation and you go through, the shedding of the identity or the attachment to the identity of who you are, all of a sudden you really have no choice. The universe just keeps presenting you with paths to evolve, and you're going to be so uncomfortable if you don't.
It's uncomfortable regardless, right?
It is. And so you kind of just have to lean into the uncomfortability of it and just go, you know what? The awakening path is all about learning how to live in the now and how to get you focused on that what you're putting out there today is what's becoming your tomorrow. So you have to lean into the uncomfortability. You have to lean into the consciousness shifts and the multiple sheddings that occur. You know, you're not going to be the same person 6 months from now, and you're sure as hell not going to be the same person a year from now or 2 years from now.
No. So I want to just briefly focus a little bit on the uncomfortable side of things, like what you talk about, because I think there's a subtle difference between, because I when I'm coaching, there's a gentleness to your wisdom and intuition, right? It doesn't come with a loud voice.
No.
Right? So there's some gentleness there. And yes, there's some uncomfortableness because we're not used to it. It's like crossing your arms the opposite way. It just doesn't feel right. But when I get caught up in the ego being reasonable or judgment, there's more struggle there. So I'm curious on how you discern between the uncomfortableness versus struggle, because I don't see when I'm leaning towards the other side, there's more struggle, there's more work, there's more effort, there's all this trying to figure things out. You know what I'm pointing to?
Yeah. So let me kind of take a step back here and say that I've had to learn over the years how to find my inner balance I had to reprogram, and it took some time to train my head that my heart is the master. So what I do is I allow, even to this day, if I'm feeling a certain way, I trust in what it is that I'm feeling, and then I take action. It's not, this is the tool to get me what it is that I'm wanting. So if you find yourself resisting or feeling like you're wanting to figure it all out, you're still in your ego. You're still in that mind is trying to control everything, and you're still operating from a place of fear instead of love. That's normal. We all go through that. And with every level up, you're gonna go through that again and again. And that's the part of the path that can be so frustrating at times, is because, when we're in the liminal space, we want answers. We want answers, and we want to know how to align with this.
We want them today.
We want it today, damn it. That's our ego, right? Come on. And so by me kind of walking the path, which is where, why I aligned with the name Divine Soul Journey, is I had to just kind of surrender to the fact that I'm not in control here. And there is a journey that's unfolding that my mind cannot even begin to comprehend. And honestly, if it was too involved, it would probably stop me from where it is being guided to go. So I do this thing with my clients and people who I work with all the time, where I ask them to start just simply asking, which way now? Just moment by moment, which way now? And you want to allow yourself the opportunity to get back in touch with that little girl or that little boy that's inside of your heart, and just say, hey, which way? And if they were in front of you right then and there, they're going to be so honest with you and so blunt with you that you're going to have no other option but to honor their guidance. And if you put them first, boom, the head is just going to have to start aligning and start taking action steps towards that. And you just have to trust. And I know that sounds so, you hear that so much on the spiritual path, but you do. It's a path of just trusting, because the mind cannot conceive of something that is completely and totally illogical 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're pointing where you said to just trust your feelings, right? Because oftentimes we use our head to rationalize our feelings, right? To understand them, whereas really feelings they just are, right? They just are. It's a barometer. It feels right or it doesn't feel right, and what about it feels painful or uncomfortable, whatever it is, right? I love that you're pointing to that, right? Really connect to that first and then go to the mind. But we are very much trained to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of what this massive, beautiful awakening on the planet, that's why it's occurring the way that it is. One of the mantras that I wrote in my little mantra book is, my intuition is for trusting, not rationalizing.
Right.
And so we've been so programmed, from childhood, and we've been living in such a patriarchal society for so long that we've been human doings, not human beings. And we've been conditioned that you have to do, achieve, achieve, go, 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 go. And then, people have their spiritual awakenings, and then it's termed as a midlife crisis, when in all reality, they're just waking up to the fact that they have not been true to themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And so this big, massive shift, this age of Aquarius that we are entering into, the divine feminine is here, and she is not going to settle. She is like, wake up, start choosing to live in alignment with what your heart is saying to you, trust. And as you do that, you will be provided synchronicities, divine timing. You're just going to have to be willing to unlearn and relearn again. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you can tell us, you touched upon something really, really important, right? Taking action, right? And how we've been in this really masculine energy. It's so widely accepted that we find ourselves in it, and we don't really question it until we burn out. Mm-hmm. Raise my hand, right? So I wonder, like, how could people, because we still need to take action, right? And I think it gets a little confusing for people, right? It's like, well, you just telling me to sit there and meditate and just let my intuition get it done from a pillow, that's not what we're saying. The doing still needs to happen.
Yeah.
So how do we do without getting into that extra masculine energy that works against us in the end?
Exactly like what I was just saying. It's about what's the next step. So if somebody has a goal, if a listener has a goal and he or she is saying, this is where I want to be, I'm uncomfortable, I don't feel right anymore, I want this type of a lifestyle or this type of a partner or this type of an income, job, whatever it is, you have to slow down to level up. You have to be willing to honor what that is saying to you, and then go, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to take the first baby step to get there. So for you guys, I would just say at some point, Rick, Fadi, you were like, I want this. I want to help people. Great. Start a podcast.
Right.
Hold the space for speakers like Stephanie to come on and speak her truth. Hold the space for, you know what I mean? It all kind of works together. So for me, when I first started Divine Soul Journey and started realizing, okay, this is what I'm here to do. This is where I'm being guided to go. Basic, practical, co-creative step. My heart said, I want more. I'm here to help people. Start a website.
Right.
I'm here to help people get my butt up on social media. Oh, be scared of being seen. Oh, fight that fear. Oh, okay. Allow myself the opportunity to be seen on podcast. Allow myself to be seen on television. Whatever it is that you're being guided to do, you have to be willing to, again, use this. Okay, this is how I'm feeling. And the brain goes, okay, what can I do in a practical way to co-create this for myself? And that's the only thing that the brain should be doing. Is it's a tool.
Right? I love co-create with your heart, right?
Well, and that I like the word that you just said, co-create.
Yeah.
You can visualize all day long, and there's, obviously, since the movie The Secret came out and people are really stepping into their power and they're realizing that we are energy first and foremost, as within, so without. So anything that is going on internally here is going to manifest in our physical reality. Right? So it's about embodying and becoming the energy of what it is that you're wanting. So yes, you should be manifesting and you should be visualizing and you should be acting and aligning and shedding versions that no longer align with what it is that you're wanting, while simultaneously taking baby steps to get you into alignment with who it is that you're meant to be.
It is interesting. Like, you talk about the baby steps appearing and things like that. Like that's my part of my teaching is just, you just need to know what the next step is.
Yep.
That's it. Right. What I find interesting, going back to the intuition or the wisdom speaking, is it really doesn't, like, it shows up. It's 100% reliable. It's just not predictable. When it happens, kind of a thing. But I also notice that it really doesn't care if it follows or not. Like, you know what I mean? Like the ego, like it's still your choice, right? Like there's still a thing called common sense, but it won't tell you to jump off a cliff.
No. And a lot of people often ask me, how do I know the difference between my intuition and my logic? And this is something that I typically recommend people. I keep it really simple. Your intuition is going to guide you to go further than you ever have gone before. And it's going to guide you to be uncomfortable. Your logic is going to keep you stuck up in patterns that aren't serving you, but are there to keep you secure and safe. Right. So yeah, no, you don't want to just go jump off of a cliff. If you want to starting a business, or if you're wanting to start a business or align with a sacred partnership or whatever, of course, you're going to have to unravel in a very practical way to then rebuild, which means you're going to have to allow tower moments like divorces. You're going to have to allow tower moments like, where you fall flat on your face again and you go, wow, okay, maybe I do still have some lessons to learn here. Right. Yeah. And it's painful. And those experiences, those tower moments, those catalytic events that we have in our life, they're there for a reason. And it's because it makes us feel, which is how we get the answers. People are so, I wish life was born with instructions. It's our emotions. The emotions are the map. And we're so wanting to stuff them away and not look at them that it keeps us caught up in these vicious cycles. But when we just kind of allow ourselves to have our hearts broken wide open, that's when we can start to align with spirit. And that's when we can start to align with what the divine plan is by allowing ourselves to start choosing ourselves over everything else.
Yeah. Major goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a gentleman wrote a book called The Missing Link, and he talks about, if there was one thing that we could learn as humans is not to be afraid of our feelings, not to be afraid of our experiences.
Yeah.
That could shift the whole world, because so much of what we do, right, in the have-do society, is we do things to avoid our feelings.
Yeah, of course, because it keeps us from having to look at ourselves and our own wounding and take responsibility for our own happiness. One of the biggest things that I always remind people of is that we're children of the universe. We're children of God. Why would we not be able to co-create miracles in our life? Why would we not have that same type of ability? And so many people give power to an outside source or to families or conditioned beliefs or society's beliefs. And they take on this victim mentality, and I'm not, everybody's situation is unique. And then they go, yeah, but why not me? And I'm like, but you can create it. You have the ability. You've been given the lifeboat here. Do the work. It's very, very challenging in the beginning to realize. When I look back on my life so far, I go, okay, I needed to heal that wounded belief, and I needed to let go of that family pattern. And I needed to, it's me. It's always been me. And then of course we have soul connections who come into our life and mirror stuff to us and all of that kind of stuff. But we can totally co-create whatever it is that we're desiring, if we just simply trust.
There's this little it's kind of an anecdotal story, but it's I got this new car, and this car's got a way of keeping me in the lane. Like when I'm on cruise control, it's got that lane assistant thing, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing with this idea, the song "Jesus Take the Wheel."
Yes.
Right.
Let God. Let go. Let God. It's the truth.
So I let go of the steering wheel.
Ooh.
Right. Okay. I let go of the trust in the process. Right.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it keeps it's steering the steering wheel all by itself. Right. I'm not hands off. Then there's a warning light that comes on the dashboard. It says, "Get your hands back on the steering wheel." Now, I didn't say it that way, but that's how I heard it. Okay. and I go, no, I'm letting go. Let go, let God. Right. And then alarms go off in my car. Get your hands back on the steering wheel. And for me, it's that part of, we have to be involved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We are part of the co-creation. We can't just, I'm just going to let go and see what happens,
That is something that can happen early on the spiritual path, because our ego we're scared.
Yes.
We're being invited to really look at fear and see it as the illusion that it is. So in the beginning, myself included, that's spiritual bypassing. And that is definitely something where it's like, well, if it's going to work out, God will just make it happen. No, honey. God is over here going, here, this is how you do it. You live in a very physical world. You're a divine being having a human experience. Now bring the idea and manifest it into matter. That's what you're being guided to do here.
Yeah.
And that's a normal part of the awakening process as well. A lot of people get moved through that. And that's a hard lesson sometimes.
Well, it is, because you hear that often too. Right?
Yeah. It's a bypass. It's avoidance, right? Like now you're getting into avoidance.
Yeah.
It's the balance of the two, right?
Yes.
It's part trusting and following your intuition and part doing. Whenever you shift into one or the other, like when you're just in the doing and following this, that doesn't work either, right?
Right.
So,
and this is where, a big part of what I teach is teaching people how to come into sacred union with themselves, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, divine feminine. It's all about finding that sacred union and not giving your power away outside of yourself. Yes, you can let go, let God, but you have to play the part. You don't have some destined whatnot. You have the ability to, if you're not happy, I always say, shift that shit. You have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And it may take a little bit of time and it may feel like you're in slingshot mode a little bit, but if you do the work and you have a pure heart towards what it is that you're trying to co-create, you'll be supported, and you'll be supported in ways that you would never even logically begin to comprehend.
right.
So, we have I know several of our podcasts, and even just being fatigued, bantering back and forth, we talk about the work.
Mm-hmm.
And not that there's any really hidden secrets, or we're not trying to hide things from people, but there seems to be this reluctance of this work that we're pointing towards. Like, it's like, whoa, well, because work sounds like a dirty word. Like you know what I mean? Like, what do you mean there's work involved here? Can you just elate that a little bit, maybe, to help with the audience?
Yeah. So the work is challenging. This is where a lot of people get caught up. So the work is getting yourself out of the job that you hate. The work is learning something new, being willing to unlearn what mom and dad and the family has taught you, what society has conditioned you to believe. The work is self-love, first and foremost. Loving yourself harder than you ever have. And honestly, that is probably one of the hardest lessons I got moved through. I was so willing, as an intuitive empath, I was so willing to just give and make everyone else happy, while for a long time suppressing my own inner needs. And so learning how to love yourself is probably the hardest thing that anybody has to get moved through. And if you're willing to do that, then you're going to be willing to go, okay, where have I allowed boundaries to be violated? Where have I allowed people to come in and take energy hits off of me? Where have I been choosing fear over love? And by fear over love, I mean, where have I been choosing worry, anxiety, doubt, depression, resentment, jealousy, insecurity over things like joy, passion, positive expectation, hopefulness, and contentment? Right? Where am I doing that every day in my daily life or with my relationships? And am I even surrounded by people who are at the level I want to be at? This is the type of deep soul work you have to look at and go, who am I before they all told me who I am? When you do that, you may find yourself realizing that you have been living in complete and total robot mode, and you haven't been allowing your heart to lead. And so therefore there's this lack of fulfillment happening, and that's leading to depression. Jim Carrey says it best. Depression is just your avatar saying, I'm tired of playing this role. Right. And this is a big thing of what we were talking about before we went live, these eclipses that are taking place in 2023. It's an identity release. Are you willing to release the attachment to how you think things should be, or who it is that you think you're supposed to be? Can you release that attachment to your identity? And if you can, fantastic. You're going to go further than you have before, because you're letting yourself let go of the illusion of control, which is ultimately choosing fear over love.
Important word you said in that sentence, though, is the willingness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge step. Like, like before the actual doing or action piece is surrendering to I am willing to.
Mm-hmm. I'm willing to be uncomfortable.
Well, that willingness,
because it's uncomfortable. Let's just say it, right? The work. Why do people shy away from the work? Because it's not fun. It's uncomfortable. But in order to change, you gotta get out of that discomfort. The discomfort, you gotta get out of your comfort zone, not the discomfort. Because by the way, that comfort zone sometimes is super uncomfortable. You just got comfortable.
Being uncomfortable.
You got used to it.
Yeah.
You got used to that level of discomfort, and now it's your normal, right?
But this is where things happen that are completely and totally out of our control. So if we don't listen, the universe is going to shake stuff up, and it's going to say, oh, you're in an unhealthy relationship? Okay. So-and-so just cheated on you.
Right. So let's up the game.
The emotional fulfillment's not there. The sex life is lacking. Oh, you're in an unhealthy job situation? Fantastic. You're going to watch everyone around you get promoted but you. Right? So there's going to be so many things that if you refuse, you're going to be in your 50s, 60s, 70s. I had a gal the other day, 76 years old. She told me, she said, I have healed more in a 45-minute session with you than I have in 45 years of counseling, because I'm actually doing the work. I'm actually realizing the reason that I've had 3 marriages, and the reason I'm feeling completely unfulfilled, even though I'm surrounded by what society has told me to do my whole life, is because I've suppressed my own needs. And now I'm realizing that maybe I didn't even want kids, but she's got 4 or 3 of them, something like that. You know what I mean? And not that she doesn't love her children, but she's realizing yet again, she was programmed from the time she was a kid. This is how the American dream looks. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Versus she had dreams to be an actress, this woman. Right? So she's starting to do the work now so that she can, live her final years and at least knowing that she's being true to herself. Right? So there's little things that happen there where you can fight it all day long, but do you want to stay in a dead end job, a dead end relationship, a dead end, or are you going to shift and change and grow and cause the other person to shift and grow with you? Or are you going to shy away and do your own thing? Right?
And sometimes that may even mean letting go of those people around you that are not willing to or able to or ready to walk along that path of change and transformation with you. I mean, that also is part of the discomfort. Sometimes those changes come with really hard choices, especially divorce, right?
Especially when you thought your life was going to look a certain way. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my mantras is what so many people use on this path. It's rise up to meet me or be gone. Right. And sometimes you have to even leave those people's lives to be the catalyst for their awakening. Right? Because you may be enabling bad habits within one another.
It's such a beautiful way to look at it. It's so true, because when you do leave someone behind, then that is maybe that wake up call, or that, extra discomfort they needed to be able to do that work that they were not able to do in that life. Because if they were able to, they would have, right?
And then you have to find your own voice as well, and that's something that can be very, very, very challenging. But when you look at it from a higher perspective, it's all love. We just all just trigger each other. We're all just walking each other home. That's really all that's happening here, is we're, and yes, leaving the people behind, sometimes it's very, very challenging. But if they're willing to do the work, you'll reunite again. And it may not be in the same way, but
But the other thing too, and that I mean, what we're talking about sounds in some cases, quite scary, right? Or could be, right? But that may not happen either. So, right. So, we have to, like you talk about, it's a journey. It's one step at a time. I've had people, even my own experience, early on, I thought, okay, well, all my personal life is going to change now.
Mm-hmm.
And there was fear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, oh my goodness, like I don't want this, I don't want that. And then I said, well, wait a minute, let's just settle it, right? I had this big awakening. Yes, I'm scaring the hell out of everybody. You know, maybe I'll just settle and just see what happens. And it's amazing. Like, people don't change, right? You change.
Mm-hmm.
My lens changed, and it's a miracle. People around me started to change.
Wow.
So whether in the cards there might be some separation or divorce, who knows?
Right. And honestly, the people who I love that you're touching on this, because you are absolutely correct. There have been people in my life who they weren't with me through the initial stage, but then 2-3 years later called me and said, "How did you do it?"
Mhm.
And then I'm witnessing them change, and it's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful. And then the people who are meant to be there, I call them soul besties.
Mhm.
During your transformation, they're going to be with you no matter what. Those are your ride or die people.
Yeah.
So you can't convince yourself that everything, I mean, yes, things are going to change, but it doesn't have to be going to an extreme.
Right.
Mhm.
It
Well,
doesn't mean that it's
yeah.
going to happen that way, right?
Yeah.
I wanted, there's something else that I want to get your, opinion on, and this is something we were talking about earlier. This concept of, I've done all this work, and it was really, really hard. I stuck to it, and I finally got to a pretty good place. Things have changed, and then you get hit again. Now there's another cycle of transformation, and I find that to be tricky sometimes, right? Sometimes that can lead you to question the whole thing, right? Because you can immediately think, oh, I'm back to where I was. So I wonder if you can speak to that for a minute.
Yep. Oh, girl, I have been there multiple times. There's been several times where I've told the universe to just F off and I'm done, right? I'm done. In those moments, you kind of just want to honestly incorporate, just laugh. Just laugh. Be willing to laugh at the journey and laugh at yourself and not take things so seriously. Okay. That can help in that way. Okay. But another thing to understand here is that with every level up, there's going to be a new version of you that is meant to be embodied. So if you think of yourself as, this is the ultimate person that I want to be, this is what, when I see myself 10 years from now, this is who I want to be. Well, you can't jump from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Right.
You have to be, there's so many layers that need to be shed. So for example, I work with a lot of intuitives and light workers who money mindset is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I possibly make good money being an intuitive or being a medium or this or that? It's like, oh my gosh. Okay. So we have to go through that mindset level up first before they get to the thriving business. Before they get the book deals or before they get to the this or whatnot. So same kind of thing with the emotional work is you may realize that in order to become, for me, I'll use myself as an example. I know I'm here to speak. I know that. I have the gift of gab. That's what people tell me. Okay. So, but before I could allow myself the opportunity to embody that version of me and be comfortable speaking and being comfortable being seen, I had to be comfortable seeing myself on camera and speaking on camera, right? Because how the heck am I ever going to speak in front of an audience before I'm comfortable with who I am? See what I mean?
Right.
So same kind of thing. Before I start speaking at events, which I do now, I had to do private events and get in front of people and speak and embody and become comfortable speaking in that kind of a way. So there are little things that you have to just go, you know what? Maybe there's something else I'm not looking at here. And right now, one of my favorite mantras is, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be in this moment.
Absolutely.
And I can shift this at any time. So if this is where I'm wanting to go, obviously there's something here that's keeping me held back from that. And I need to lean into that. And maybe I need to slingshot this for 90 days or 6 months,
Right.
Yeah.
And keep noticing what's like when I can't intellectually understand what's going on, which a lot there lately. I just really step back and I notice. I'm just like, okay, I am thankfully past the self-judgment and the, like getting caught in my negative thinking and all of that. Like I've, worked on that long enough. But like this is a little bit newer of like just, okay, I'm just gonna step back instead of getting into that masculine energy of doing what can I do again? Because every time I've done that, I realized it came from a place of fear, right? When I take action from that place is taken from fear, right? And so now I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna step back and notice what's dropping in my life. And it's amazing what you actually notice when you intentionally start noticing.
Yeah. And when you're back in alignment with your feminine and you're letting this do the work that it's supposed to be doing, you actually attract more and you align with more opportunities because you are a vibrational match for what it is that you're wanting because you're not forcing, you're flowing.
Right.
So you're planting those seeds, you're co-creating, and then you're like, okay, perfect. Like I'm aligning with opportunities right now that were dreams and fantasies of mine last March.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And so it's something that I was just like, ooh, wouldn't this be cool if? And then I put it out there, planted the seeds, did some serious work and said, okay, if I'm going to go from this version of myself to this version of myself, I'm going to have to face myself in this kind of a way. And that's what happens. And you're going to experience that. It's weird. I've noticed it like happening in like 9-month cycles ever since I went through my initial awakening. It seems like every 9 months, which is very interesting, I am birthing something new. Every 9 months, there's a new thing that's happening. And I go, oh, but what? Seriously, I could do that? And I'm shown a limited belief that I didn't even know was there. And then I have to go, okay. And as a conscious woman, I have to say, why is this triggering me? Am I willing to do the work? And am I willing to unlearn and relearn?
Right? For me, it was 7 years. It's every 7 years.
Yep. Every 7 years. Well, it's probably big every 7 years, I would assume.
Yes, it is. Yes,
yep.
it is.
Yeah.
So the couple of things I just wanted to highlight, knowing where you are right now is perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So the only what I notice is that where the struggle or the angst comes is where I expect to be someplace different than what is today.
When your future truth.
Yeah. It's sort of like, why aren't I, right? Mm-hmm. But when I let go is, you know what, I'm here where I am, and it's perfect. It's fine.
Yeah.
The other thing, and it seems like I'm kind of losing the thought. But the leveling up, like problems don't go away. This isn't about having no problems in the world. Mm-hmm. But your problems at this level, at the ground level, let's say, right, are so much different, and you can handle them with so much grace and finesse as you level up. Like you're going to have problems. I mean, you're living life, you're breathing.
Right. So the key there is to offer yourself more grace and compassion than you ever have before. It's like offering yourself the same kind of grace and compassion that you would a stranger. If a stranger came to you, or like, again, I always come back to the inner child, because if you saw a 12-year-old boy or a 12-year-old girl struggling, the first thing you would do is you'd say, you got this, get back up. You can do this. And you would start reprogramming them. So if you can start talking to yourself in that same kind of way, one of my favorite things to do, one of my healing modalities that I've stuck with from the beginning of my own divorce, was reprogramming myself through mirror work. I would look at myself in the mirror and I would say, you are strong and you are capable and you are worthy. And I would just say it over, even in those moments when I didn't freaking believe it.
Right.
You are capable, you are worthy, you are beautiful, you are intuitive, you are here for a purpose, you are, and I would talk to myself. And a big part of my spiritual journey has been reparenting myself and reprogramming myself on my own, because I wanted more. And I knew I was worthy of more. And it was getting back in tune with the vibration of love, the energy of love. We're not talking romance. We're talking the energy of love that awakened me to the fact that I am a divine being and that abundance is my birthright. And I can align with it if I'm willing to co-create it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let go of all the beliefs around it, why you shouldn't
Ooh.
belong to you. And
It's yes, and it's hard work because we're not talking just this lifetime. I mean, we're talking what's in our DNA that's handed down, to our family lineage. So most of the time when you've got people who are on the path, they're breaking generational curses. They are considered the black sheep of the family. There's so much that goes on there. And then you've got your own karma. So not just, who is Stephanie right now? This is the soul we are and what we are meant to be learning. We have to break those patterns. And if we haven't been able to break those patterns yet, guess what? It's harder, right?
It's harder. Yeah. And that's why I love the phrase, the buck stops here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have that, if you're willing to take a stand and just say, you know what, I deserve more.
Yeah.
A lot of acceptance in that process too, right? Acceptance of this is just staying focused on where you're at, staying present, not future pacing, not getting into I'm not there yet. Acceptance of pain sometimes, acceptance of discomfort, acceptance of seeing your own limitations, acceptance of this being a journey and not a place that you arrive to. Like, I think acceptance is a really big word along with doing the work.
Right. It's just about, yeah. And just being here now. And just, that's a big part of acceptance is just in this moment, at 1:41 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is the conversation I'm having.
Yeah.
And that's where people have a hard time, myself included. And I still have my moments, don't get me wrong, where we're either future tripping or we're living in the past trying to figure out why things went down the way that they did.
Never here, never truly here, right? Going back and forth, but not settling down in this present moment, right?
There's something I've been experimenting with. Like I go for what I call my meditated walks every morning. I get up real early and I take my dog for a walk. But one thing I've noticed is, like trying the whole notion of trying to be present all the time. It's a lot of work. Right? But I can notice quite readily where I am in the moment. So I can be very present. Oh, look, there's birds, there's trees, there, that kind of stuff. And then it's like, oh, I've got to do this later on today. Mm-hmm. And oh, there's trees. There's like, it's a dance, right? It's sort of like you're not, it's an in and out kind of a thing, but not beating myself up for not being present.
Right.
It's sort of like just allowing myself to be wherever I am in the moment and going, oh, I'm getting lost in thought again, back to the trail.
Yep. And that's basically just redirecting your energy. And one thing that I always recommend to people is that, there's so many gurus and people out there trying to tell you, or self-proclaimed gurus, this is how the spiritual path should look. And honestly, if you're having a hard time, for anybody who's listening to this, trying to be more present, do something practical, going for a walk, going to the gym. I love taking photos, video work, being creative, going and being with your friends. It doesn't have to be some, spiritual whatnot all the time, because you'll get burnt doing that.
Right.
You're going to get, you'll start to resent the path at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because perfectionism is an illusion. And that's a big part of the path as well, as realizing that you are a soul having a human experience. So by being here now and being present, just go do something that brings you joy in that moment. It's
Have fun, right? How's
it
fun while you do all of it? It doesn't have to be all hard work. Right?
Yes, you don't have to be sitting there meditating and trying to figure out all the things. You'll drive yourself nuts, and then you'll bounce off the path. And sometimes that's a part of the journey as well, is that, I meet people all the time who are on the path, off the path, on the path, off the path. But really, they're always on the path.
They're always on the path. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. That's really beautifully said. It is the on and off is part of the journey. And again, it's that balance.
Yeah.
How can you balance being like meditating, being present, doing the work, but also having fun, being creative, like enjoying life, right? Because we're not just here to observe trees. We're also here to enjoy that walk and like connect to it and like feel like have some fun. Can we have some fun doing the work? It's possible. It's absolutely.
It is possible with the right people and the right mindset. It definitely is. You just have to be willing to take the first step.
The willingness. There's that key word again.
I think that's the word of the day.
So let me ask you something as we're coming to a close, and my clock says 4:44, by the way. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with that we should have asked you that you would like to just speak to?
I mean, one of the biggest messages that I put out there consistently is just make sure that you're choosing love over fear, moment by moment. You know, be willing to reprogram. If you have a negative thought, which we do consistently every day, just don't punish yourself for it. Say, it's okay, I had that thought. And then think of, you know, a thing that's going really well in your life, or 3 things that are going well in your life. Or if you're feeling like you're at that point where you're like, nothing seems to be going my way, then start focusing your energy on what you want to see manifest. It's okay, I had that thought, but I'm going to be building this, and I'm going to be focusing on this. And that's going to teach you that what we focus on grows.
Absolutely.
Right? So be willing to shift as often as necessary.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So where should people look for you if they are interested in working with you, learn more about your work? And
you can just visit me at divinesouljourney.net. That's my website. And then I think I included, for your listeners, I think I gave you guys like a free 30-day journal for anybody who wants to start the reprogramming process.
I'm putting that in the chat right now, actually, all your links. So that's the best place to find you. And
yep,
also,
divinesouljourney.net.
It's a wonderful website, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I love your Instagram too. So anyone on social media, I highly recommend following Stephanie there too.
Oh, thank you.
A
lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into all that.
Tell me about it. We can talk about that off the air. That's a fast growth right there too, for me personally. Love and hate. Dancing with it. No hate. We're dancing with it.
Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
But keep the hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah. Let it nudge you.
Let it nudge you. That's exactly what it does. It actually just kind of nudges you a little bit, right?
It does. Yeah, you were going to go with that, because I've done that experiment too. I'm like, oh, no, I do kind of need to hold the steering wheel.
Well, it's just about allowing the redirects to happen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Trust in the process. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Stephanie, you're a wonderful soul. It's such a pleasure to really get to know you better.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Finally having you on. All the
stars aligned.
And it was a perfect conversation for my life personally. And if you found value in this conversation, help us amplify our impact. That's why we're doing this. We're bringing on people like Stephanie to share their wisdom, their journey of transformation, share the work that they do to help others transform, get out of struggle, shift into love in this case. And so if you found value, just share it. Help somebody else get a deeper understanding of what this process is like, and share the love with us too. Subscribe, leave us leave us your comments, give us a review, whatever you want to do to spread the love. We appreciate all of it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Stephanie.